What's the most insane actual rich person behavior that you've experienced?
So this is I Nanny for Japanese Millionaires Part 6. So the girl I nanny for is obviously used to nice things, a nice house, nice cars. So when I started working for them and picking her up and taking her to school, she didn't really like my car, obviously. So she tells the mom, like, Mom, I don't like Jake's car. And the mom's like, okay, then tell him to take one of our cars. And they have like a BMW, a Mercedes, an Escalade, a Navigator. And she's like, no, buy a new car for him to pick me up in. And I was like, okay, whatever, choose a car. So the 7-year-old girl is choosing a car for her mom to buy for me to pick her up and take her to school. And I'm just sitting here like manifesting a Tesla. I'm like, please choose a Tesla, please choose a Tesla. Follow me for more story times and to see which car she chooses.
The most insane actual rich person behavior that you've experienced?
Okay, this wasn't me. This is my roommate who worked for a lawyer. She had to drive with him one day and found out what a horrible driver he is, which was surprising to her because he leases all of his cars. And comes to find out, not only is he such a bad driver, that he has a mechanic friend on speed dial that he leaves the number on the cars that he hits and tells people to not call your insurance, just call this guy, he'll fix it, no problem, and the lawyer will pay for it. But also, when that lawyer leases those cars, there's a waiver that you can sign for $10,000. Anything that happens to the car, the dealer will cover in the time that you are leasing the car. He purchases that $10,000 waiver every time he leases a car, about once or sometimes twice a year.
What's the most insane actual rich person behavior?
My house was so big, I had to tell my dad dinner was ready by using the phone intercom system. And all of those dinners were 3-course meals prepared by a private chef. We had at least like 7 employees in the house at all times, including security guards, and my mom always was terrified that there would be an inside job and I would be kidnapped. When my parents got divorced, I had to live in 4 houses at the same time, and somehow I would get in trouble because I couldn't keep track of all my underwear. One time we took a 30-minute commercial flight from Boston to Nantucket, and my dad hated the commercial flying experience so much, despite the fact that state police officers helped us through it. He had the private plane meet us in Nantucket to bring us back to Boston. I never had to go to the grocery store as a kid. There would be a pad of paper in the kitchen. If I wrote something down, it would disappear the next day. My parents' divorce made the news, calling my mom a gold digger, and the comments were full of men counting down the years until I turned 18. I wasn't allowed to put my last name on social media because people would track me down and kidnap me.
Most insane actual rich person behavior that you've experienced?
Okay, I feel like I win this. So I used to go to this high school. We had 3 in our district, 2 that are the main ones and 1 nobody cares about. The 2 that we go to, I went to 1 and then it's our rival school. Even though we're sisters, it's our rival school. Our football team's biggest rivalry in the state. Like, it's unmatched. And we never had a really good football stadium, like a football area. So we would play our home games in our rival team's stadium. We didn't like that. So we decided to build a multi-million-dollar stadium, complete with bleachers, a new track, whole thing. And we went through multiple lawsuits to allow stadium lights because the neighbors in the area wouldn't like stadium lights until 1 in the morning. We won. We built a multi-million-dollar football stadium and track because we didn't like to play in our rival team's stadium.
What's the most insane actual rich person behavior that you've experienced?
So I don't mean to flex, but I have an air fryer, a Vitamix, and an espresso maker. What?
So I lived in Saudi Arabia for a minute, and my friend is a prince, right? And he asked me to come over to his house, literally in castle, but it's fine. And I go over, and his front yard has like pet cheetahs, pet leopards, all that. And I literally had to be embarrassing and say, I have a cat allergy. Anyways, so I would try to go into his house, and he's like, no, that's our parking structure. Literally 4 stories high, but it's okay. And then whenever he would want to meet a famous person, he would just pay them, and they would meet him in Dubai. So
glad you asked that, because mine was recorded.
You're full of shit.
All right, thank you.
No, shush. Shush. I support the Second Amendment. Second Amendment, just like right now, if you yell fire, that's not free speech. And from the very beginning, I have a shotgun, I have a 20 gauge, a 12 gauge, my sons hunt. Guess what? You're not allowed to own any weapon. I'm not taking your gun away at all. You need 100 rounds.
So when you were with Beto, when you said you're going to take our guns, that
I
means
did
what?
not say that. That's not true. I did not say that.
That's a viral video.
Your AR-14s.
Okay, this is not okay.
Hold on.
All right.
Hey, let's
Don't tell me this, pal. I want to go outside.
There's a lot of guys. A lot of guys wanted.
man.
I'm not worried. Hold on. Give me a break, man. Don't be such a horse guy.
Up on me.
Hey, there's a lot of.
Hey.
Speak to Joe.
Look, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Are you able to...
Question. What's the most insane actual rich person behavior that you've experienced?
My fiance bought a house with a freaking ballroom in it.
What's the most insane actual rich person behavior that you've experienced?
Okay, so this is probably the most insane one I have. When I was in my early 20s, I was working in real estate in a university town. And one day, this Arab fellow calls, I forget from what country, and he says he wants to buy a house in town for his kids who are going to go to university in Canada. So my boss, who's kind of a racist, says, can you take him out because whatever. I said, sure, no problem. Super nice family. It was a dad and his son and daughter, and we went around and looked at houses all day, no problem. Towards the end of the day, he says, can we just go back to my hotel because I need to grab some things. And I was like, okay, because he had his kids with him, fine, went to the hotel room. So he pulls out from the cupboard in the hotel room, he pulls out a suitcase of cash. And I said to him, like, you might want to put that with the hotel safe. And he's like, oh no, I don't have to worry. At home, my brother knows a fella and he kills people if they steal from him.
Actual rich person behavior that you've experienced?
I don't know if this counts, but I crashed my boss's Bentley one time.
So my story was when my son was doing landscaping for our neighbor who had this beautiful $1 million house, and they had just moved here from California, but he got a new job in France and they had to put their house on the market again. Well, thinking that it was going to take months to sell, it only ended up taking a week. And so they had no time to sell anything and just basically gave us the entirety of everything in their house. I mean, high-end Pottery Barn, everything, organic cotton towels and comforters, and it was just like, I was insanely blessed. But the thing that I just had a very hard time like comprehending was the fact they had this $4,000 couch system still in boxes in their garage. I mean, they had that couch in the house too, but they also had the couch in boxes in their garage. And it wasn't just that, they had other things too that still had labels on them. Like, I just couldn't understand that.
What's the most insane actual rich person behavior that you've experienced?
So, I was a CNA a few years ago before I became a nurse, and I used to work in a hospital. I was taking care of a now deceased, very famous artist. Well, you know, I gotta give it to him. Hospital food does suck. But he used to complain every single day because he hated the hospital food. So his wife had his crab legs and lobster flown in to him. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having your hospital food flown into you and having a courier deliver it to your room, but he was there for a bowel obstruction.
Y'all remember that video where it's like, what's the most insane actual rich person behavior you've ever experienced? I can't find it, but I have an addition. Rich people in country clubs. I don't mean like the little golf course in your neighborhood. I mean country clubs. Applications to these like really exclusive country clubs are insane. When they say it's all about who you know, it is all about who you know. There's this one club where like their old policy was that for every month you were on the waiting list, you needed a new member to handwrite you a letter. We had a friend on the waiting list for 6 years. That means he had to meet 72-ish or more members who would handwrite him letters. Another person really needed the approval of like the founder of the club, and so he had to play 9 holes of golf with him. And the secretary called like randomly one day and was like, this guy is free at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. But he's in Montana. So our friend literally flew out to Montana to play 9 holes of golf with this one guy. And when he left, the guy says, just tell people I have a favorable opinion. Out of time.
I absolutely love all of the eating the rich TikToks happening right now, but I'm seeing a lot of middle class things being listed, so I have a question.
What's the most insane actual rich person behavior that you've experienced?
Because mine is when I heard the mom of this family say, oh, I absolutely hate vomit. When my kids threw up on their bed or on their mattress, I just threw out the mattress and bought a whole new one. What?